Mr. Speaker, what could go wrong at this point? What are the potential cautionary pitfalls? You've been and seen a lot of presidencies that this administration needs to be cautious of and aware of.
Well, look, I think, first of all, you have to have a certain level of humility. President Kennedy had a sign on his desk that said, "Oh, Lord, your ocean is so big and my boat is so small." And even if you're as big as President Donald Trump, the world is much, much bigger. So you have to be cautious. You have to worry about not starting a nuclear war with Russia. You have to worry about what North Korea is going to do. You have to make sure that the Chinese communists don't think they can cross the Taiwan Straits. You've got to worry about the Iranians who are religious fanatics and try to help the Iranian people who are not religious fanatics. I mean, there are a lot of things out there that make the world complicated. We're undertaking a brand new struggle where we have defined criminal organizations like the cartels as terrorist groups. That involves a whole series of decisions, and Mexico is a big country, and it's a country that has large sections of it being run by criminal gangs. So that's going to be a major concern. The biggest concern I think, for the president, the thing he has to focus on, is the economy. It's vital to him to keep the House in 2026, and it's going to be a real fight. If the economy is growing, if there's a sense of a Trump boom, then I think he's got a good chance of keeping the House. If the economy is still floundering, then I think there's a real likelihood we'll lose the House, and you'll end up with a Nancy Pelosi environment of Democrats obstructing, blocking, investigating, and possibly impeaching. So this is the central decision point, and that requires, in my judgment, passing a very, very strong bill, I think by Memorial Day, as Speaker Johnson said, or certainly no later than July the 4th, because it's got to go into effect. Now, the early reports, $500 billion committed for artificial intelligence, the Saudis committing $600 billion. These are great things. But to get the average American on board, they've got to see the taxes change, the regulations change, the economy growing. If that happens, and with people like you, and I have to say, you were extraordinarily helpful and important in the last presidential campaign, and I think you made a significant difference, particularly in reaching out to younger Americans. So with the help of the entire team that elected him president, we have a chance to make sure we not only just keep the House, but we actually increase our margin. There are 13 Democrats in seats that Donald Trump carried. There are another 21 Democrats that are in seats he got within 5%. They're going to vote very strangely, very much against the American people. And we have a real chance to beat them and to substantially increase the majority that Speaker Johnson has to work with.
Well, thank you for those kind words, Mr. Speaker. My inclination has been for two bills, but can you convince our audience otherwise? I'm not against one. I mean, I'm far from a legislative expert. Why do you think one bill would be the best solution?
Well, let me just say, as part of the background, that I've engineered this before. We were the only Congress in 100 years to pass 4 consecutive balanced budgets, pass welfare reform, pass tax cuts, pass Food and Drug Administration reform, invent Medicare Advantage. We did all that with a Democratic president. Why? Because we followed Ronald Reagan's principle, Abraham Lincoln's principle, which is you start with the American people. President Trump, if he will campaign for about 10 weeks and go into the districts I just mentioned, the 34 that are vulnerable Democrats, he will pass a big bill. I don't think you can do that twice in the first 6 months of the year. And I think it's desperately important that that be the tax cuts, deregulation, energy, affordability bill. I think you can throw in things for immigration. He's frankly going to do a lot on immigration without a bill. And I think people say, oh, we want a quick early victory. No, I want a decisive victory that shapes the economy for next year to give us a chance to keep the House. Anything less than that is a failure. And I think the Senate is so cumbersome and so difficult to work just structurally that even though John Thune's going to be a very good majority leader and very cooperative with Trump, frankly, he would have a very hard time getting 2 big bills through the Senate in 6 months. So if I have to choose, I want one really big bill, as Trump described it, one big, beautiful bill. And I think that's the safest if you want to keep a majority in the House, and it's the safest if you want the Trump presidency to be successful.